Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 473 based on novel. So let's start. The Gates of Purgatory fall. At this time, Xiaoyang was surrounded by raging glass flames, and his imposing manner was overwhelming. He looked down on the world like a ruler, and it was terrifying. The Flame Palace, composed of the Gates of Purgatory, is surrounded by ancient gates wrapped in glazed flames. Therefore, in the entire palace, ancient, sacred, violent and other auras are blowing. The scorching ancient power slammed into the air, burning and evaporating the poisonous mist on Lung Yuaning's body like a sinner who had broken into other people's palaces. The splash on the top immediately spread throughout the entire palace. For a time, whether it was a terrifying attack or Lung Yuaning's breath, they were completely disordered. Even if Xiaoyang did not use the reincarnation domain, the power of the holy flame and the Gate of Purgatory alone was enough for her to deal with it. The fiery and madness in Lung Yuaning's eyes slowly subsided, because in the depths of the palace, those imprisoning forces within reach actually made the poison art in his body tremble slightly, so that the phantom of the spider that was summoned by his own poisonous art was directly cut by the countless powers in Xiaoyang's flame palace, and it shattered little by little in this space. The void hummed, and the ancient palace surrounded by the entire Gate of Purgatory was nearly 100 feet tall. The filling speed of the internal flame and ancient power far exceeded the power of Lung Yuaning's poisonous art. A strong sense of suffocation was born from the heart. Go on like this. Until this moment, Lung Yuaning had to take it seriously. This human named Xiaoyang seems harmless to humans and animals, but this level of combat power is enough to endanger his own life. It's really surprising that a mere first-level reincarnation rank can make me, a second-level reincarnation rank poisonous girl, go all out. Sky Spider Poison Art, WAN Poison Flame Dragon, boom. There was no way to retreat, there was actually a faint black flame on Lung Yuaning's chest. Just as it was beating, it was absorbing the infinite poison in the body, and there was an extremely strong wave brewing faintly. A poisonous dragon, the whole body is dark green, but the body is densely covered with the poisonous mist of countless stinging mines. The roar of the dragon's roar shattered the void, making Xiaoyang's flame palace sway slowly. Just by virtue of this. Little Doctor Immortal's breath. Just as Xiaoyang's eyes became fiery, an extremely tyrannical and violent aura emerged, and when he was trying to wipe him out, a familiar aura emerged from the bottom of the flame palace. Never mind. After some induction, Xiaoyang sensed the intention of the little medical fairy, and immediately shook his head. Immediately, the power surged in the dark, forcibly weakening the defenses of the flawless flame palace to the extreme. After a while, the quiet palace was originally calm, but under the agitation of Lung Yuaning's 10,000 poisonous flame dragon, the edge of the palace was forcibly torn apart by a huge crack that was as deep as 100 meters. In the crack, ancient runes and flames lingered throughout the body, and there was no end in sight, but Xiaoyang, the Gate of Purgatory, was completely disintegrated by it at this time. Human boy. See you next time, I will peel you and drink your blood to rid you of today's hatred. The voice of resentment sounded slowly, and the cold moon condensed into a poisonous mist, with a touch of shocking soul. I am afraid that it will disappear along the crack in the future. Tick. But even Lung Yuaning didn't realize that when she left the flame palace composed of Xiaoyang's Purgatory Gate, a drop of green mist quietly poured into her body and followed. The Gate of Purgatory is very powerful. If it is a real death fight, I have more than 70% confidence to kill her directly. If I cooperate with the Temple of Taboo. Xiaoyang spoke tremblingly, but he was very happy in his heart. This kind of flame palace surrounded by the Gate of Purgatory is actually not much different from the Palace of Taboos. The only difference is the ancient pressure. The Gate of Purgatory has been improved a lot, and now the power of this great immortal technique is really terrifying. Although it is not comparable to the top immortal arts, but with Xiaoyang's many powers, it should be no problem to shake the powerhouse of the triple reincarnation level. Brother Xiaoyang's strength is really getting more and more terrifying. The flame palace was lifted and the void was restored. Zuna joined hands with the little medical fairy, gushing out from the poison pool below, staring at Xiaoyang with a smile on his face. But at this time, whether it was Zuna or Xiaoyixian, there was actually a layer of crystal light spots on their bodies, as if they were sheltered by some power, especially the power on Xiaoyixian's body was more powerful, and it was absorbed in the poison pool. A lot of poisonous fog venom, the mastery of poison pills in the body, has reached a new level. Are you all ready? Xiaoyang nodded slightly, and then asked the little medical fairy. The last blow just now, if it wasn't for the breath of the little medical fairy, I am afraid that Xiaoyang would directly arrest Lung Yuaning. Although he did not know the original intention of the little medical fairy, Xiaoyang still deliberately sold a flaw and let Lung Yuaning escaped. Lung Yuaning is the real genius in Lung Yugong. Even if we capture her today, with her blood, we won't spit out any information about Lung Yugong, not to mention that some of her body has already been planted. Deadly poison. This kind of thing, even they themselves don't know. If it wasn't for the reminder of poison pill, I couldn't find it. Xiaoyixian shook his head, as if thinking about something. Let the tiger return to the mountain. Xiaoyang couldn't help but feel a little worried. The strength of this Lung Yuaning is absolutely extraordinary. He cultivates the profound mystery of poisonous arts, and can actually induce the phantom of the spider to take action. If there is no prestige of the Holy Flame and the Gate of Purgatory, I am afraid it is also a difficult role. Tiger. Jingyu Palace is just a puppet of Xiaoyang Palace. I always feel that this time, Xiaoyang Palace seems to have a big move. Let's rest for a few days. The election of the poison god will be officially held in 10 days. That's when the final contest will be held. The little doctor nodded. Then, the Grand Elder Palace arranged by Palace Master Jingyu. Xiaoyang wondered now the entire Poison God Palace is under the supervision of the Xiaoyang Palace Master. It seems that everyone is just a puppet. If we leave Jingyu Palace rashly, we will be directly pursued by her. So we can only take one step at a time. But they forgot that Princess Jingyu is a powerhouse in the space department of Hermitage. The voice fell, and calm was restored here. For 10 days, the Jingyu Palace has been calm and peaceful, but there have been many fights in the Lung Palace. The reason is that the two poisonous women of Lung Yuaning lost one after another, which made people in the Lung Palace panic. The Jingyu Palace, which has always been the weakest among them, can actually have such an extraordinary talent. The authenticity of the rumors is constantly magnified in its palace. As for the Xiaoyang Palace, the lord of the three palaces, it looks down on all beings with a strong posture, and there is no movement. Even the Supreme Elder Palace is dead silent. The Poison God Palace was originally the true overlord of the entire demon realm, and even many forces in the demon god realm were fearful, but that was all the glory when the Poison God was in power. After the death of the Poison God, the glory will not stand, so in today's Poison God Palace, every 100 years, there will be an election ceremony with poison as the main test and contest. The reason is that on the one hand, it is to protect the poison. On the other hand, the supreme status of the shrine in the Poison God realm is also to select some excellent seedlings, cultivate them, and become the fresh blood of the Poison God Palace, and later fight against the attacks of other forces in the Devil world. As for the Poison God, even after countless years of selection, no one has this qualification. After all, in the Poison God Palace, the powerhouse known on the bright side has more than one person in the 4th level reincarnation. Wei Sure, that is absolutely impossible. However, a character who has been at the forefront of the storm recently has faint traces of breaking this stalemate. Saintess of Jingyu Palace, Little Doctor Immortal. It is said that this guy has not only the inheritance of the reincarnation seal of the poison god Xuanhe, but also the 10,000 poison pill, one of the 2 great poison god tokens. These 2 kinds of things, no matter who they appear on, will cause a burst of sighing and restlessness, not to mention the fact that they appear on the same person at the same time. The shock and surprise make countless people feel a sense of astonishment. The Poison God Palace seems to be changing. The strange form of the 3 palaces and 6 gates under the Poison God Palace seems to be disintegrated. However, the shock is still shock. Even if this saint has the support of Jingyu Palace, there is still a big gap compared with the other 2 palaces. This has also caused some dissatisfied voices to continue to pour out, and it seems that there are deep complaints against this saint. Of course, it is still unknown whether this legendary saint was able to turn the tide and become a new generation of poison gods, or whether she fell into the hands of many high-level poison gods. Time passed, and the election day of the poison god came as scheduled. The election of the poison god is set in the poison god domain, on the top of the central mountain range in the Sangong Mountains area, above the poison god altar. With the coming of the poison god election day, this place has already become extremely strict at this time, and I am afraid it is even real. The 4-layer reincarnation level powerhouse can't retreat from here, which shows how huge the hidden power of this poison god altar is. Let's go. In the Jingyu Palace mansion, the palace master Jingyu was wearing a simple dress today, and his eyes were filled with a long-lost peace. He got up gently, and said to the few people in front of him. Xiaoyang, Xiaoyixian and Zuna looked at each other, and then a group of 4 slowly walked out of the mountains of Jingyu Palace, riding a majestic poisonous beast into the sky, heading for their destination. After dozens of minutes, the four of them landed together at the foot of a majestic mountain range. Here is the real powerhouse in the Poison God Palace, the foot of the Poison God altar. At this time, the entire mountain range was surrounded by countless poisonous mists, and the ancient hidden breath was looming. Even this altar showed a very distorted morbid state, as if eroded by countless poisons. It had already become extremely terrifying. On some fragmentary positions at the foot of the mountain, there are constantly uneven crypts emerging, and strange auras emerge from them. Although those auras are weak, they make people feel a rare uneasiness. The means of defense are really strict. Xiaoyang glanced around indifferently, and could detect a very weak and tyrannical aura hiding in it. If that kind of power is gathered, even if he goes all out, he may not be able to defeat it easily. Of course, if it really reaches that point, Xiaoyang doesn't mind letting the powerhouses in the Poison God Palace get to know the new people in the Great Thousand World. System, devil. Let's go to the center of the altar first. I believe many people can't wait. This election, even if it's a farce, we will win in the end. After fighting for thousands of years, I still won after all. Palace Master Jingyu's beautiful eyes surged, and she spoke softly, and her voice was filled with extremely mysterious fluctuations, as if there were words in her words. At this time, although they only dispatched 4 people, they seemed to have made a surefire plan in secret, but Xiaoyang and Zuna didn't know about it. Let's go. Xiaoyang took Zuna's palm, and the two quietly followed behind Xiaoyixian, looking at the altar mountain on the other side. His eyes moved, and on the mountain range on the side, there was a sky-high ladder that was paved with red poisonous mist. The stairs are made of some kind of extremely corrosion-resistant bluestone. Walking on it faintly, Xiaoyang closed his eyes and felt the supreme poison contained in the ancient stairs under his feet, and a long-lost silence swept over. The 4 of them walked all the way. Along the way, there were countless figures on both sides of the sky-reaching stairs. They fluctuated quite well, but their strengths were only spread under the reincarnation. Obviously, this sky-reaching ladder, only those who have the strength to reach the reincarnation. The fact that he was able to set foot just now also shows that the number of reincarnation powerhouses is quite rare, and every reincarnation is a rare powerhouse in the vast world. Thank you all. We will always remember this love. Walking on the road, Palace Master Jingyu looked at Xiaoyixian's panicked expression, and couldn't help but say something to Xiaoyang. After that, Meimu kept lingering on Xiaoyixian's body. On the other hand, Xiaoyixian kept his eyes dodging towards Xiaoyang and seemed unable to face Xiaoyang directly. Obviously, there were some things that were hidden from Xiaoyang and Xiaoyang, but Xiaoyang and Zuna didn't go into it. They knew that Xiaoyixian didn't, it will harm them, so there must be something to hide. The people from Jingyu Palace are here. A minute later, the 4 of them stepped on the stairs to the sky and reached the end. At the end of the mountain range was a huge square that was nearly a kilometer long. The center of the square was the altar of the poison ******, surrounded by countless erosions. At this time, on the altar, a poisonous mist lingered around this ancient altar. There were countless figures standing around the altar, including some poison guard soldiers who maintained order and many strong men under the Poison God Palace. Of course, there are also the strong man in charge of presiding over this election and some core personnel of the Poison God Palace. Now that it's here, then take a seat. The leader was an old woman in a clean white robe, standing on the altar, holding a poisonous stick in her hand, and walking slightly towards a burning cauldron in the center of the altar. In the fire cauldron, a faint flame flickered, as gloomy as a ghost fire, but its appearance was exactly the same as the legendary poison ***** cauldron. Poison God Election Day. Let's begin. Monster Moon Palace, Langya Palace, Mirror Moon Palace, the Lord of the 3 Palaces and the 4 poisonous girls, please join us. The voice sounded, and the entire altar was filled with a dead silence. The old woman's voice seemed flat, but the coercion contained in it turned out to be a terrifying level that can be learned from the world. A real quadruple reincarnation stage? Xiaoyang murmured a little in his heart, and immediately sat down on the high platform of the altar with Xiaoyixian. For a while, the power in his body began to slowly brew. Brother Xiaoyang, and me. Just when Xiaoyang was a little stunned, a gentle voice with a hint of mischief slowly sounded from his soul realm. Although the sound belonged to Zuna's use of soul power, but under the gentle surface, there is a strong wave that can penetrate the entire world. It's a bit like the power of the 9 profound Fire Lord. In an instant, the election of the Poison God in the Poison God Palace completely kicked off. At this time, thousands of people have gathered in the plaza of the Poison God. Among the thousands of people, there are only a few dozen people with strong reincarnation, but some guards of the Poison God Palace are secretly hidden in the crowd. If any riot occurs, I am afraid that the trigger it will be killed by it in an instant. The altar in the center of the square is carefully carved from circles of unknown black soil. There are some slightly concave stone seats on the edge of the altar. At this time, only 9 people sit quietly on the stone seats. There are 4 people in Jingyu Palace, 3 people in Lungyue Palace, and 1 person in Xiaoyu Palace. That's the poisonous girl of the sky in the Xiaoyu Palace. Is it filthy? After a long time, as the old man in the center of the altar who was in charge of presiding over this altar ceremony began to urge the poison god cauldron of energy to release a circle of terrifying power fluctuations that shook people's souls, Zuna looked up and a trace of heart palpitations crept into her heart. It was a woman in a grey robe. At this moment, her eyes were slightly closed, as if she was resting. The robe tightly fitted the delicate body, and matched the calm and indifferent devil cheek. Looks like a poisonous saint, even Zuna is less charming than her. Holy flame! The filthy poisonous girl did not speak, but shook her jade neck slightly, as if she had noticed. This little beast. On the other side, Lung Qingchen and Lung Yuaning, the 2 poisonous girls, hated Xiao Yixian and Xiaoyang so much that they could not wait to slap them to death. Time passed quietly, except that the old man in charge of the overall situation urged the energy poisonous cauldron to emit bursts of strange and refreshing fragrance. The entire altar seemed extraordinarily monotonous. The dead silence lasted for about half an hour, and a strange energy fluctuation, with a baptism from countless years, spread out from its poisonous cauldron, and a powerful pressure that surpassed heaven and earth swept out. This poison election, start. Are the poisonous women trying to challenge the 4 poisonous women in the 3rd palace? The ancient power in the poisonous cauldron was detonated, and the old man immediately cast his eyes on the 1,000 people above the square. These guys are the elites of the Poison God Palace. They are gathered here, on the one hand, to see the final ownership of this Poison God election, and on the other hand, they are also trying to compete with the poisonous women they cultivated and the 3 palaces. Once they get good results performance, and their status will rise as a result. Boom! The energy poisonous cauldron faintly dissipated directly on the spot, and then passed through the layers of clouds and mist, forming an ancient poisonous cauldron in the cloud of thousands of feet in the center of the altar. This is the sign of the election of the poison god. Even if it is just an energy phantom, its power is appalling. Or, let me try it out. Seeing that the atmosphere in the field became quiet for a while, Xiaoyang couldn't help but speak. This poisonous woman from Xiaoyu Palace is probably the person who can make Xiaoyang feel the real danger in the Poison God Palace today. No, the poisonous art cultivated in this guy's body is too powerful. Even our elders in the palace have heart palpitations. Let me go. Xiao Yixian watched Xiaoyang speak out, and scolded directly. Her expression was cold and tense, and her expression was extraordinarily solemn. Scorpion sect, defeated. The 10,000 poison sect, defeated. The genius poisonous girls trained by the tyrannical sects, actually no one can make a move in the filthy palm, and they are completely defeated. Xiaoyang stood up slowly, an invisible power also scattered from the clouds, suppressing the many forces in Xiaoyang's body, walking gently, and then a low voice exploded in his body. The powerhouse of Jingyu Palace, let's do it. Hey, there's a good show to watch now. Xiaoyu Palace and Jingyu Palace have been enemies since ancient times. There were constant whispers in the square. Mirror Moon Palace, Xiaoyang. Xiaoyang took 10 steps and left the stone seat on the edge of the altar, then raised his head slightly, looked at the expressionless woman in front of him indifferently, and spoke softly. You know why my name is Filth. The filthy and poisonous girl raised her head, with a sinister smile flashing in her eyes. I don't know. Xiaoyang shook his head. In my eyes, those who are not of my race must have a different heart. They are really filthy and must be eradicated. What about the people of the same origin? Even if they are of the same origin, strength is divided into strong and weak. The weak is filth and must be killed. So, let's do it. I also really want to see how special the poisonous girl who is known as a true genius in this Poison God Palace has. Xiaoyang spoke lightly, an extremely terrifying wave resounded in his body like a tsunami. As you wish. Dirty poison world. With an order, a poisonous mist of light in the hands of the filthy poisonous girl shot directly at Xiaoyang. Xiaoyang frowned, and turned around to avoid it, but the poisonous fog light hit the void around Xiaoyang, but it began to twist strangely. A huge grey-white field filled the entire square of the poison god altar. In the filthy poisonous world, there are deadly poisonous mists everywhere, and even outrageous grey-white bubbles appear under one's feet. The bubble burst suddenly, and it carried a dizzying and strange power. With the advent of this filthy poisonous world, countless grey and white poisonous forces continued to erode and squeeze this stable void, and the repressed breath made people's nerves can't help but jump up. What a horrible, filthy, and poisonous world. All over Xiaoyang's body, the power of the holy flame was suppressed by an unprecedented force, and then his eyes narrowed slightly, the dragon ***** transformation in the body, the fighting spirit and other forces began to brew, always prepare. The strength of this filthy poisonous girl seems to be no more than the peak of the second-level reincarnation, but the combination of strength and poisonous arts, even if some real quasi-triple-level reincarnations meet, I am afraid they can only temporarily retreat to the side. Crash. Suddenly, in the grey and filthy poisonous world, countless poisonous mists surged, and on a dimly lit sky, a poisonous tree with a volume of more than 100 meters was condensed, and there was a monster on it. Fruit. The fruit of the poisonous tree has an extremely terrifying black color as a whole, and the surrounding roots are sticky like mud, and even those roots and leaves that are full of fruits have a rather obscure grey-white line. Little immortal technique poisonous mist eats seed. The filthy poisonous girl's voice was not visible at all, and a sinister cold hum rang out. In an instant, the poisonous tree's limbs disintegrated, and it used the terrifying elasticity of its roots to shoot the poisonous mist fruit suddenly at Xiaoyang's direction. Everywhere along the way, there was an extremely terrifying tearing sound, the void buzzed, and the grey-white corrosive acid flowed, as if even everything could be easily melted. Too strong. In the minds of countless people, they were all shocked by the attack of the filthy poisonous girl. This is just a little fairy technique, but the power is so terrifying. This kind of terrifying power that penetrates the void like the divine power of the heavens, and the earth does not seem to be able to resist them at all. Once it falls, most of the poison god altar will be destroyed in one fell swoop, and a majestic sense of fear arises from the heart. But on the other hand, Xiaoyang, who challenged the filthy and poisonous girl, didn't know whether it was because he was scared or had other plans, but he quietly closed his eyes and stood there, and his appearance was like a target to be slaughtered. This guy, has he completely given up struggling or has other plans? On the plaza of the poison god, watching Xiaoyang and the filthy poisonous girl fight, their eyes locked on the two and they muttered, because they knew that Jingyu Palace and Xiaoyu Palace were undoubtedly the top priority of this election. As for Xiaoyang and the filthy poisonous girl, no matter their strength or status, they are both powerful figures in their respective palaces. The outcome of their competition will probably be related to the following matters. For example, the conferment of the poison god's crown. Brother Xiaoyang. Looking at the terrifying scenery of the world of poisonous fog in the realm, such a shocking scene can't help but make Zuna, who has been sitting on the stone seat of the altar for a long time, suddenly quicken his heartbeat. His hands are clenched, and a thick golden flame is looming. The strength of this filthy poisonous girl is much stronger than Lung Yuanink's two poisonous girls. Even with such means now, Zuna vaguely feels that the latter has not used her full strength. Xiaoyang took a deep breath, and the countless powers in his body began to roll. After all, the two had a heart-to-heart, and naturally knew Zuna's concerns. However, although this level of attack was tyrannical, it did not have any substantial lethality to himself who possessed the holy flame. It seems that this so-called Jingyu Palace VIP is not as terrifying as the legends say. On the stone seat of the altar, Palace Master Lungyue was wearing a white dress and looked like a leisurely and peaceful beauty. At this time, he slowly opened his eyes, and his voice was full of tranquility and disdain. Through the affairs of the two poisonous women and the existence of the saint named Little Dr. Fairy, his hatred for Jingyu Palace was even stronger. Lungyue Palace Lord jumped to conclusions at this time, but it's a little too early. After all, this guy has defeated the tyrannical existence of the two poisonous women in Lungyue Palace. In the face of Palace Master Lungyue's ridicule, Palace Master Jingyu also spoke slowly, and the voice made people feel like a spring breeze, but everyone knew the meaning of warning contained in the voice. You. Listening to the mouth of Palace Master Jingyu, there were traces of obvious anger on Lungyu's calm face, and the anger spread slowly along with an extremely pungent stench. That kind of power can be learned from the world, and it is obviously a special power belonging to their level. Previously, it was also the Xeon fluctuation that only those who surpassed the quadruple reincarnation rank could possess. The election day of the god of poison is no child's play, you should save it. The Xiaoyu Palace Master, who is above the first place, is dressed in a blue dress, with a strange aura like scattered flowers and mist looming, and a hollow silver hairpin is inserted into his hair. The two were indifferent, just standing quietly, as if waiting for something. Hearing the words, the other two palace masters couldn't help shaking their heads slowly, but the aura on the Xiaoyu Palace master seemed more terrifying than before. Then everyone focused their attention on the two who were fighting in the realm. At this moment, a hot and dazzling glazed light suddenly flashed between the heaven and earth in the domain, and then a thin figure slowly lifted into the sky, and countless dazzling flames gathered behind her. Glazed wings. The glass-colored thousand-jong fire wings fanned the air, and even when the poisonous mist fruit that could destroy everything was attacked by Xiaoyang, it was suddenly dazzled by a violent and hot-winged wind, and was forcibly imprisoned in the void, can't move. Looking at Xiaoyang, who had bizarre flame wings behind him, the pupils of countless people shrank tightly, as if they were aware of something. Because the fluctuations on the glazed wings are too tyrannical and sacred, people with discerning eyes can recognize it at a glance. It is the fluctuation of holy flames. Holy flame. It really has some strength, but this kind of noisy flame, which one is in the holy flame list, why I have never seen it. At this moment, Xiaoyu Palace Master's closed eyes suddenly opened, staring at Liuli Shingi Road behind Xiaoyang. Burst. In the realm, the filthy poisonous girl also noticed the terrifying power above the flame wings, and immediately did not hesitate. The corners of her mouth surged, and a cold voice sounded. The poisonous mist fruit bound in the air by the glass wings, slightly it shrank, and then just like fireworks, carrying a thick green poisonous fog storm that was enough to drown the void, it bloomed. Seeing this, Xiaoyang sneered. The flame was wrapped in his palm, and it carried a faint power of space, which directly suppressed it. Destroy. The huge power of space and the power of holy flames converged, instantly killing the poisonous fogstorm in the cradle. Dirty poison world, non-toxic swamp. After watching Xiaoyang instantly suppress the enormous power contained in the poisonous mist fruit, the filthy poisonous girl roared, and the field of poisonous world could not help expanding, and in a blink of an eye, a gloomy swamp filled with sticky swamps was formed. Poison world. In the enchanting poison mist swamp realm, a stench of stench wafts toward the face, like a swamp of death that has accumulated for countless years, filled with an extreme depression of death. Beneath the poison world swamp, there are countless huge swamp mud pillars tumbling continuously, like monstrous waves surging continuously, which is extremely shocking and magnificent. Beneath the surging mud pillars in the swamp, there was a figure as huge as a mountain dormant quietly. Although it did not show its full face, the suffocation and shock that came upon him still filled Xiaoyang's heart with unease. That is a poisonous beast, and it is one of the killers that the filthy poisonous girl has painstakingly cultivated, and its power has even reached a level that no one knows about. Have you quarantined everyone? Poison beasts. Behind Xiaoyang, the glazed holy wings slowly instigated. Each instigation would cause the void in this field to tremble slightly, and then several forces within the body began to surge. Holy flame, dragon god claw. The faint voice sounded. Xiaoyang's eyes burst out with a ferocious and violent aura. His body trembled, and he stepped out of the void. The huge poisonous beast hidden in the poisonous fog swamp below, its body flipped, a majestic body like a black hole, spewing out an extremely terrifying sticky fog of venom, swallowing the void domain, and suppressing Xiaoyang. Boom. The incomparably hot energy and the power of the poisonous fog slammed together. Xiaoyang was like an irrational beast, with blue dragon scales appearing all over his body. The dragon claws wrapped in glass-colored holy flames faced him. Blast away. As expected, she is the most talented poisonous girl in the Poison God Palace. The two huge forces clashed, and then gradually weakened. The hot energy storm raged in this field full of holes, and even the huge pressure made the filthy and poisonous girl's neat skirt fit tightly to the skin, charming and charming. There is no doubt that the curve is outlined, but there is a maddening smile in it. On the body of the poisonous beast under his feet, there were thousands of holes burned by the holy flame, and bloodstains were extremely conspicuous. On the contrary, on Xiaoyang's body, the poisonous mist actually penetrated the dragon's scales strangely and entered his skin. Under that, Xiaoyang's face became ashen for a while. The pain was burning his internal organs, and the pain was unbearable. This seemingly simple fight actually ended in an evenly matched situation. A touch of consternation appeared in the eyes of countless people, and even Xiaoyang, who was unknown in the Palace of Poison, grew taller at this time. However, in the remaining filthy realm, the power behind Xiaoyang and the power of the filthy poisonous girl did not disappear. To be able to force me to this point, you are the first person in the entire Poison God Palace. The figure of the filthy poisonous girl appeared, and there was actually a very serious burn mark on the originally fair skin. Even under the skin, there are vaguely strange creatures wriggling under the flesh and blood, which looks particularly terrifying, and those things are like living poisonous insects, and the venom power contained is enough to make people feel frightened, but the filthy poisonous girl's charming the body is constantly shaking, obviously suffering from extremely terrifying erosion. This scene is terrifying. Then the filthy poisonous girl couldn't care about her scorched body. The whole body slowly lifted into the air, and the volume swelled rapidly. The power of the ancient evil spirits began to revive, and the icy aura of death that filled it made Xiaoyang's body tremble uncontrollably. However, Xiaoyang did not have any fear of this, because there was also a terrifying wave in his body that stood proudly, and a layer of ecstasy filled his eyes. There is some equally evil power in his body, just like a newborn baby, slowly waking up, blooming with endless greed. That is the restlessness of the demon blood. Although Xiaoyang did not know why there were such maddening fluctuations in the demon blood in this filthy and poisonous woman, the demon power that had been suppressed for too long really needed to be released. Crushing the devil's Rubik's Cube under the palace of Poison God did not succeed, so now there is enough opportunity for Xiaoyang to use the devil's power without being eroded. Cause very serious trauma. Of course, just relying on the strength of this filthy and poisonous girl in front of her is far from reaching the point where Xiaoyang can use the power of the devil. The real opponents are the Jingyu Palace master and the many powerhouses who hide in the dark and delay the little doctor. Xiaoyang knew that the Poison God Palace was undoubtedly the Dragon Lake Tiger's den for him, but since he chose to come to help the little doctor immortal this time, he would not put him in any danger anyway. Holy Flame Fusion. In the grey and white domain, in the filthy air, from time to time there will be a glazed double wing stretching across the entire domain. Wrapped in the glazed wings, there is a black shadow that looks thin. At this time, around the body, 5 completely different holy flames, under its delicate control, slowly merged towards the chest, and a flame lotus loomed. The quiet 5-color lotus hidden in it seems to be weak, but the power that is full of invisible has already surpassed the heaven and earth. Even when some of the strong men in the altar saw it, their faces became frozen involuntarily. What a terrifying method. An attack of this level is definitely not inferior to the truly tyrannical Great Immortal Technique level fighting skills, and it has the blessing of Holy Flame, and its power is a bit more tyrannical than ordinary Great Immortal techniques. But this Holy Flame seems to be somewhat tyrannical. Not quite right. The Jingyu Palace master looked at Xiaoyang's terrifying offensive, the corners of his mouth rose slightly, and a touch of sarcasm emerged, as if everything was under his control. 3 steps to bury the gods. The power of filth, let me fall here. At this moment, the corners of the filthy poisonous girl's mouth became sarcastic, her face twisted like a pervert, her roar tore through the sky and roared at Xiaoyang. After a while, his palms slowly spread out, and a quiet grey bead gently poured out with the power of endless poisonous mist of death. The aftermath generated by the holy wing of glazed glass solidified in an instant, and a terrifying wave that directly hit the heart rippled. If you are hit by it, I am afraid that you will be seriously injured, and if you are serious, the body and spirit will be destroyed. Integrate. Seeing this scene, Xiaoyang shrugged and smiled, and then waved his big hand. 5 flames with completely different powers took shape, and then crawl out. Fire Heart Tianyang. Ghost Face Soul Rock. How can a human body contain so many holy flames at the same time? That's not enough to explode and die. What on earth is it? Seeing Xiaoyang's actions like this, everyone couldn't help but feel stunned in their minds. Xiaoyang, surrounded by 5 violent holy flames, made the center of the altar suddenly boil. 5 holy flames. At this moment, even the always quiet palace master Yaoyu suddenly stood up from the stone seat, her beautiful eyes slowly staring at Xiaoyang. A look of surprise flashed in her eyes. The original filthy poisonous world was naturally a huge area that shrouded the entire world, but later, under the control of the filthy poisonous girl, she floated away towards the sky of the altar, only wrapping herself and Xiaoyang, so everything that happened in the scene was nowhere to be seen. One can find out very clearly. This guy. At that time, seeing Xiaoyang's actions like this, Palace Master Jingyu was even more worried. Xiaoyang's actions undoubtedly showed his position, but at the same time he established countless powerful enemies. 5 kinds of holy flames, this attractive bargaining chip, I am afraid it is enough to cause the siege of countless power mines. Boom. In the filthy and poisonous world, Xiaoyang's 5-color holy flames began to merge, and the violent flames surged everywhere, and every beat would make the void of this filthy and poisonous world distorted and shattered. On the other side, the grey-white beads on the palm of the filthy poisonous woman are also absorbing her vitality, and the 2 violent forces that are enough to drown the entire altar square are like 2-dimensional storms, igniting at one point. Poison God Relic. The grey-white brilliance is like the supreme divine power falling from the 9 heavens galaxy. The grey-white beads move and melt into the void with the power of countless poisonous mist. Along the way, the void burst open, and a terrifying touch that was enough to melt everything, carrying this seemingly weak grey-white bead, blasted away at Xiaoyang. Xiaoyang's eyes were full of sneering disdain. He was laughing at the filthy poisonous girl's self-control, and at the same time, his eyes suddenly looked at the Jingyu Palace master outside the domain, as if he was declaring war. Buddha's anger reincarnation. Xiaoyang roared, the soul power and Fen Ju and other powers in the body were instantly exerted to the limit, blood energy surged, and the flame lotus platform with 5-color lotus seeds roared out. 5-color flames and grey-white energy confrontation. An extremely terrifying dimensional storm emerges from the realm in a strange way. Caused by the storm, everything is silent. Xiaoyang's body is wrapped in endless flames, like a supreme ruler who controls countless flames in the world, watching all this indifferently. On the other side, the smile on the face of the filthy poisonous girl was indifferent, and a shock filled her pupils, because at this time, the grey-white beads that she was proud of were actually eroded by the 5-color holy flames. It is deep, as if it will completely collapse and open at any time. Blast me. The filthy poisonous girl couldn't help falling into a state of madness, and then roared. The grey-white beads shrank slightly, and exploded completely. If that's the case, let's explode. Xiaoyang took a deep breath, and then slowly squeezed his palms. At that time, something in the field seemed to be broken. At the same time, 2 terrifying fluctuations that were enough to destroy the sky and the earth permeated the air. Shaking uneasy. This video will end here.